Hey guys, here we are with my good friend Lina, who is the INFP.
Thank you for having me.
And in this video, we are going to be sharing strengths and challenges what we have with each personality type. And after we have discussed each personality type, we will rate from 1 to 5 how challenging we think it is to get along with this type. Let's start with the anti-temperament, which is utilitarian, abstract, and systematic types. Okay, let's start with INTJ.
You want to go first?
I can go first. Okay, I think one of the strengths is definitely how direct they can be with their speech. And they are to the point. They don't go with like different perspectives. They don't discuss those. They are like, okay, this is my opinion, and this is why this is my opinion, and this is the best approach, and this is why. What do you think?
Yeah, I think their greatest strength is how much they are visionaries. Because when it comes to some other types, they might have great grand ideas, but they might struggle with how to make it happen. But because they are also strategists, they also see the roadmap to how it can be made reality. In my mind, they're the visionary type, and that's very admirable.
Actually, this is how we get to the challenges, because I think that is one of their strengths, but also their weaknesses, because they can, I think, be too optimistic because their introverted intuition is an optimistic function. So they can be almost too optimistic about the ways they can get to their goals that they become passive. What do you think? I think that's one, like how I see at least one of the challenges of this type.
The one that I thought of is a very stereotypical one when it comes to INTJs, and it's the fact that they can often be perceived as very cold, sort of withdrawn or calculated or something. I think people might struggle a bit more with genuinely liking members of this type, and I don't think that's entirely deserved reputation. I think people don't give enough credit to the FI third. They're so much warmer than ENTJs, in my opinion, at least.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think ENTJs are more warm.
Oh.
But I think it's just because of the extroversion. But yes, I like definitely FI child. There can be some sweet spots there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So how challenging do you think from 1 to 5 it is to get along with this type for you?
I think I get along with them pretty well. I don't know, I'll give it a 4.
Okay. I think I give 2 or a 3 for me.
That's surprising.
Yeah. I really like them though. I like INTJs. I like how they are. But I think with me, there's like two direct people who are always on the point, and then there's nothing actually kind of soothing in it. It's just like boop, boop, boop. It's like almost like shooting guns at each other, you know? It's just...
Okay, but I thought as an ENTJ you would find that comforting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. It could. Maybe for some ENTJs that is the case. Next one, let's go to the INTP.
Maybe I'll go first this time. When we're talking about averages, and when I'm not talking about like this one person that I know that distorts my view on the entire type, or when we talk about averages, right? I think the INTP is my favorite type.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit, we share something common here.
I love how like they are the objective type, because they're so thirsty for knowledge. They want to know more than to affirm what they already know. Like, I think they're very resistant to all sorts of biases and fallacies, and they're just very intriguing to have a conversation with. Yeah, and they rarely jump on bandwagons. Like, I don't know, there's just so much to like about the type. And in a weird way, I think they're also a bit sweet somehow.
Yeah,
like, aw.
Totally the case.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever come across an INTP whom I didn't like, at least to some extent.
That's good. Okay, I have definitely met INTPs who are more on the difficult side. And I think INTPs have one difficulty, which is how to get them out of their comfort zone. And I think that can be really challenging for a lot of INTPs. I think once they get out of their comfort zone, they are like amazing. Definitely one of my favorite types also, but I'm kind of surprised that we actually agree on that one. And if I would have to say one of the most objective types, I would say is INTP or ISTP, but that's due to their FI last function, which is that their introverted feeling is literally in the bottom. They really don't filter things through their own
value
systems.
Yeah. One challenge that I would name is, while they have these great ideas about how the world should work and how systems should work, because they are not very strategic and they're very internally motivated, and also I feel like they sometimes struggle to understand how people work, right? I think it's hard for them to come up with a roadmap on how to make their idea a reality, and for that they need strategists to work with. But that's one thing they lack in themselves.
I don't have anything to add to that. That was great. Because as an ENTJ, I find it difficult with INTPs, particularly when it comes to reality. I guess this kind of status and these kind of things, they are completely don't understand how those things work.
Yeah, but that's what I love about them.
Yeah, that's totally true. That is the strength and the weakness, but like definitely the strength also.
Yeah.
Okay, from 1 to 5, how difficult do you think it is to get along with them?
I'll give them a 5 in terms of how easy it is for me to get along with them.
Yes, me too. Okay, next type, ENTJ.
I think you ought to start with this one because it's your own.
Yeah, I think if we go deep into ENTJ, I think I have too much to say, to be honest. But one of the key strengths, okay, I have to name 2.
Sure.
I think one is definitely how they are simultaneously social but also directing, which means that they can really put things and people into ways of functioning. That is really weirdly said. But I mean, like, that's I guess why they're the leader type in some sense. It doesn't mean necessarily you lead, but it means you naturally want to put things and people into order towards something. And I think that is really a strength. I don't think many types actually can do that. It's due to the extroverted thinking and introverted intuition top functions, and when they work together, it's literally like, it's an organizer. It's like an organizer for the future, kind of.
The thing that I thought of is they get it done. Like no matter what it is, like nothing stands in their way. Stress only fuels them. They forge a path, and like they won't get caught up in inconvenient principles because they're kind of flexible in that way, which can also be like not a forte, but it doesn't get in the way. If I had some like really large scale plan that I needed to make happen and I had like a ridiculous amount of money to fund that, I would hire some ENTJ to execute it.
Yeah. Okay, ENTJ challenges. I think definitely one of the challenges, I will say arrogance.
That's a good one. I think it's true for a lot of ENTJs. And I would say that it kind of goes with the efficiency, like it's the other side of the coin, like that one, and the one that I have in mind, which is they have the tendency to be able to compromise on some moral aspects. Like I think people love to hate ENTJs. At one point I tried to find like an example of a healthy, good ENTJ in like cinema or something. I could not find it. They're always the villain. Not even like a minor villain or a sidekick or something. They're like the main villain.
Do you have like a real life example when the morality can be kind of...
I think if anybody were to like enslave 100,000 people, it would be an ENTJ.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually think INTPs could be as immoral as ENTJs, for example. But I think ENTJs, just because they are enforcing type, it can come across as like they're more immoral in that sense, because you're kind of enforcing it to the external. Based on what I've like seen in cinema and stuff, INTPs are just as good villains also, but there's just a different aspect. ENTJs are more, you know, pushy and, you know, going out there doing it, and it comes across definitely worse.
Yeah, I think also because of that personality, ENTJs are just easier to hate.
Okay, one more I have to say. I think definitely one of the weaknesses of ENTJ is lack of understanding their emotions. And I definitely think that I need to point out. Like, for example, based on my own background, I've seen ENTJs from Chinese culture, I've seen ENTJs from Finnish culture. They're really different also. And that is interesting because the way the ENTJ can be so immersed in the society and kind of control their lives without realizing that they have individual emotions and values and stuff like that. I think many ENTJs kind of go into that loop and they never kind of get out of that.
Yeah, I could join in that idea, and also I would expand it and say they're just not very in touch with like anything, you know, emotional or their sensitive side. Or obviously healthy ENTJs are going to be in touch with that, but I think it's something that they'll have to work on.
Definitely. Okay, from 1 to 5, easy or challenging?
If I gave INTJ a 4, I think I'll have to give those, I don't know, it really depends on the person. I think I'm gonna go, 3? Yeah, really depends on the person. My fiance is an ENTJ, and he's very like a well-rounded person. I think it's easy for anybody to get along with a healthy ENTJ like that, but if they're slightly unhealthy, that makes it very difficult. Well, I guess that's with every type though.
If I gave INTJ a 2, then I would give ENTJ a 3. Probably. And that's only due to the resemblance. I don't think I get really well along with them, but I think we are so similar that we have a really strong understanding. Okay, next type. Then we have ENTPs. Do you want to start this one?
I can start with this one. When it comes to curious daredevils, I think the ENTP is unmatched because the world needs a number of ENTPs to kind of, you know, pursue their novelty and shake things up and come up with something new, right? A lot of ideas would never see the light of day if there was not an ENTP to have the fascination and the courage and the energy to breathe life into it.
Yeah, that was really poetically said.
Oh, I got to live up to my type.
Yeah, I think ENTPs, they are fascinating types just because how weird but simultaneously intellectual, and they are still willing to break the boundaries also. So they have out of the box thinking and willing to say things out loud. I think ENTPs actually have an important function in our society because of that. They literally say things out loud that no one would want to say. I think ENTPs kind of serve like an important function, but you cannot have too much of them. They are exhausting to me.
Yeah, I think it's hard to think of a type that's more energetic than the ENTP.
Yeah. And
I feel like as a slightly lower energy type / person, it is really exhausting. Despite that, I think there's a vast overrepresentation of ENTPs in my friend group. There's just something about them we just click.
Maybe it's that extrovert intuition. What do you think? Is like kind of the understanding of the ideas and the abstract?
Maybe, and also if they're well-rounded people, and also I think if they're female, that can also like amplify the FE that they have in the 3rd slot. They'll just care about people also.
Okay, challenges.
Challenges, it's how they say those out-of-pocket things, and I don't think they lack the understanding of whether it's inappropriate to say something or not. Like they know it's inappropriate, but they'll say it anyway. I also, because they're so curious, I don't think anything's like sacred to a lot of ENTPs. Like no idea is too touchy to touch, right?
Yes.
So I think they're exactly the type to start debating the existence of afterlife at Granny's funeral, you know, where people don't want to hear that conversation. But obviously I don't mean that every ENTP is going to do that, but they have the psychological profile that would, you know, encourage that.
And I think one of the challenges is, at least based on what I've seen, how to navigate their emotions. Because their introverted feeling is in the blind spot. Instead of just being the last spot, like INTP and ISTP, they have it in the blind spot, the trickster function. That can be really confusing because I don't think they necessarily understand that they also have emotion, or they're like blind to it, but then they can actually be really emotional sometimes. I think, for example, IXTPs are more balanced with it just because it's not like a blind function sometimes.
Yeah, and that's interesting. One ENTP friend that we actually share, she said that she doesn't feel like she has an identity. And I get where that is coming from, and I don't feel like she suffers from that. But I think some of the ENTPs might.
I think it definitely creates challenges in their lives, even if they're not conscious of it. Okay, from 1 to 5, how challenging is it?
They could be a 5, they could be a 1. It really depends on the person so much.
That's so true.
I think because of that, I have to go with a boring middle ground and say 3.
Okay, yeah, okay, ENTP is totally the one where you can't choose the side. Sometimes it's annoying as hell, and sometimes it's like, oh, this is so much fun. I would say how I get along with ENTPs, maybe a 3 also.
Yeah.
I kind of have to choose the middle ground because it's just so...
Great risk, great reward type of person.
Exactly. Okay, next one. Let's go to the SJ temperament.